Have you ever felt it? That kind of quiet, persistent sense of unease that just seems to hum in the background of modern life? It's not really sadness, not exactly anxiety, but something deeper. A feeling that something is just fundamentally off. Well, let's dive into that feeling, because it turns out philosophers have been trying to figure it out for centuries.
And we're not just talking about everyday worries here. We're talking about a very specific kind of modern uneasiness, a deep-seated questioning that almost seems to define what it's like to be alive right now. It's a problem that's so widespread, we've got to take a closer look.
And so much of the time, it really just boils down to these huge, haunting questions. It's the kind of question that doesn't really expect an answer, but the fact that we're asking it points to a massive spiritual displacement. So where on earth does a question like this even come from?
To really get a handle on this feeling, philosophers often point to a sort of archetype, a figure who perfectly embodies this condition. Let's call him the man on the filing card.
So picture this guy, okay? He's about 45. He used to have everything that gave him an identity: a family, a home, his own farm, animals, neighbors. Now, he's got nothing with the clothes on his back. He's been completely uprooted, totally stripped of who he was, and reduced by the state to, well, just an abstraction, a number on a filing card.
Now here's what's so powerful about his situation. When he talks about his past, about the specific house, the specific family, the animals who all had their own names, he becomes a real person again, right here in the present. But the second he goes quiet, he's just an abstract problem for society to deal with. His constant question, who am I? It's a cry from a man who has lost the entire world that used to give him the answer.
But look, this isn't just one guy's sad story. He is, as the text says, the last link of an historical development. So the really crucial question is, how did we get here? What massive historical shifts created the conditions for this kind of profound loss of meaning?
Well, if you look back over the centuries, the very foundations of Western life just got shaken to their core. The Enlightenment, it celebrated the individual, sure, but it also helped dissolve those old, tight-knit communities. Then you throw in the Industrial Revolution and the rise of nationalism, and those traditional bonds get broken down even more, especially religion, which for so long was the main source of meaning and value. All of this created a huge void, a spiritual vacuum, that one philosopher, in particular, was about to stare right into.
Friedrich Nietzsche tells this famous parable about a madman who runs into a marketplace in the middle of the day holding a lit lantern, and he's screaming, "I seek God! I seek God!" And the crowd, which is full of non-believers, they just laugh at him. They have absolutely no idea of the gravity of what he's about to tell them.
And then he just drops this bombshell. Now, for Nietzsche, this wasn't a celebration. It was a catastrophe. The death of God meant the death of the entire moral and philosophical framework that gave the Western world its meaning. All of our values, our sense of right and wrong were built on that foundation, and now it was gone. Everything was beginning to crumble. This, for Nietzsche, was the true source of a gigantesque devaluation of everything we held dear.
So we have this deep, profound unease, born from the collapse of all our old certainties. But what are we supposed to make of it? Is this feeling a flaw in our thinking, something that needs to be corrected? Or is it something else, maybe even something essential to us?
And this really shows two major schools of thought on it. On one hand, you've got the ancient sages like the Stoics. To them, unease was basically an error, a sophism of the imagination, a disease that needed to be cured with rational thought and self-control. The goal was to eliminate it. But the Christian Gospels, they offer a completely different view. Think of the parable of the tax collector, beating his chest and calling himself a sinner. His unease, his lack of satisfaction with himself, is the very thing that opens him up to grace. In this view, unease can be fruitful, a catalyst for something bigger.
But what if both of those views are kind of missing the point? What if this unease isn't a problem to be solved or a state to be transformed into something better? The philosopher Blaise Pascal comes along with a much more radical idea, that we've been asking the wrong question the whole time. He suggests this feeling isn't a reaction to the modern world at all.
Pascal's entire philosophy is built around this one concept, the cor irrequietum, which translates to the unquiet heart. It's this core idea that our natural default state isn't peace, but a constant, restless agitation. And this is absolutely the key. For Pascal, unease isn't a bug, it's not a feature of a specific time in history, it is the very engine of our being. As he puts it, our nature is in movement, complete repose is death. We are, at our core, fundamentally restless creatures.
But why? Why can't we just be still? Because, Pascal says, when we're truly quiet, with no work, no passion, no entertainment to distract us, we are forced to confront what's really there. We feel our own nothingness, our abandonment, our emptiness. All our frantic activity, all our chasing of ambition and fun, is really just a way to run from the terrifying silence of our own empty room.
So where does this whole philosophical journey leave us? We've traced this feeling from the modern, alienated man all the way back to what might just be the very core of our nature.
So, to recap, our journey began with that modern feeling of meaninglessness, personified by the man on the filing card. We saw how it was shaped by the collapse of old certainties and the death of God. Then we explored that great debate. Is unease a weakness to be overcome or a strength to be embraced? And finally, we were faced with Pascal's wild diagnosis that this feeling is, in fact, the very core of what we are.
Which brings us right back to the central question, not just for philosophers, but for every single one of us. Is that humming sense of unease a sign that something is wrong with the world or with us? Or is it, just maybe, a vital sign that we are truly awake to the human condition?